mind when you pulled the trigger on it? I'm just curious, what convinced both of you that you will not be wrong?
Well, let's be
Hello,
clear. I'm the one
darkness,
making
my
the
old
decision,
friend.
and Jay's supportive of it. So it's me. I don't do anything that's scary. I think everything that we do, we put a lot of work into it. We study it, and we restudy it, and we go back. And I understand the magnitude of it. So the easiest thing for me to do is do nothing, and everyone would praise me for doing nothing. But we really believe.
Welcome, everybody, to Basketball Passport. That was a clip of Nico Harrison explaining the trade that sent Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers and launched a protest outside American Airlines Arena. That was Jason Kidd's reaction to the, the explanation. And I there was a reporter, I had heard that Jason Kidd was really excited and really wanted Anthony Davis because he had won a championship with him and all of that good stuff. And Leigh, does that look like a man who's really excited to coach Anthony Davis?
He looks as shocked as everybody else was when they heard the news. And, one thing I absolutely have to say about Nico Harrison and Rob Pelinka here, how they got this done without even a hint of anyone. None of the big news breakers even got a whiff of what was going on. And the reason I think that is because Nico Harrison knows if word got out that he was shopping Luka Doncic, the Mavs fans would have rioted. I mean, they're rioting kind of anyway, but it's too late now. The deal is done. But that's in this day and age, nothing gets done to that point without someone catching wind of it, and it didn't happen. So that was crazy. I woke up because I was in bed last night. It happened after midnight my time. And I woke up to a few text messages from people saying, oh, what do you think of the Davis Doncic trade and stuff? And I'm just like, oh, you wake up, it's like 6 a.m. I'm like, what does this mean? I don't even understand what they're saying. And it wasn't until I got like the third message, I was like, has Luka Doncic been traded? And you go online, you saw that it was, and I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And then when you saw the package, I'm like, there's something not right here. It doesn't seem to make sense because it just feels like Nico Harrison, maybe he knows something that he's not sharing or that he's not telling anybody else, that it seems maybe there's an issue with Luka's long-term health. We know he has had, lots of little injuries. He hasn't ever been a great player in terms of his conditioning, but winning usually trumps everything. And we know Luka is a huge, big-time playoff performer. And that, for me, is kind of what makes this whole thing shocking, is that the Mavs decided we're going to take the other, very good player, but another injury-prone star who's, he's having a great season, but the long-term prospects of Anthony Davis, I don't think are great. But the Mavs decided, yep, that's what we're doing, and they did it. And I still, my screen time today is like, I'm nearly at 100% screen time today for the time I've been awake.
Yeah. By the way, this is Basketball Passport. We get together twice a week, usually on Sunday nights, and then now on Friday mornings. We're there to launch you into your weekend and then to bring you back into the work week. And in this case, normally we would, on Sundays, we would kind of take a nice little trip around the league. But in this case, this right now, Leigh, feels like the only story in it. Nothing else feels like it matters at all. There is so much going on. There is so much lying going on. Like, it's crazy. I am used to, as I've been doing more and more and more reporting and talking to more of these people, especially this time of year, the lying aspect, it just kind of comes with the territory, right? But normally the lying takes place in the run-up to the trade.
Right.
In this case, it's really weird that the lying is taking place after the trade, because I don't think, like, Nico Harrison's story doesn't track. He's saying that he didn't get any word from Luka or his camp that he was or wasn't going to pick up his option, which, if you want to be litigious, you could say perhaps that means that he didn't think he was going to pick up that option, right? Like, you want to hear something in the affirmative, and if you don't, then you have to operate as if you don't have that going in your favor. But he didn't say that. He didn't, he said that didn't play a role in this. He said Luka didn't demand to be traded. Now, I have heard from people closer to the Lakers that Luka was starting to look their way a little bit. They had thought they had intel on that. Um, and then you arrive here at this. Also, like I said earlier, Jason Kidd, I was told that he was really excited to bring in Anthony Davis, and that would kind of fall in line with Dallas's spin that they think that they traded Luka for somebody who is more of a win now type player and aligns with Kyrie Irving's timeline. But there, it's like you look at Jason Kidd, he doesn't look like he was all that thrilled. He looked like the rest of Maverick fan, the entire fan base. So none of this really seems to line up all that well. And I don't know. It's been weird, to be completely honest, because as excited as I am to get to watch Luka on the Lakers for the next decade plus, and don't get me wrong, that is incredibly exciting. A little bittersweet because I'm going to miss Anthony Davis, but like for the most part, just in terms of basketball reaction to this, that should be the overwhelming sentiment. Is like, holy crap, they have Luka. But I almost feel so bad for Dallas fans that it's hard for me to really enjoy this. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Is this what empathy feels like?
So you're sort of wow, you've got some
I'm evolving. What is happening?
Yeah. No, I mean it is just shocking. It's one of those, seismic moves that just rocks the entire basketball world. I mean, people around the world were talking about it. I got a few DMs. I put something up on Instagram and people are just sort of like, why did they do this? How did they do this? What's the upside here for the Mavericks to give up on Luka right away? And I just keep coming back to that same conclusion that this one actually feels like we're always told how it's a business, and it is, but this one feels more personal. That Nico and Windy kind of alluded to this on one of his hits where he said, do you know how much you have to basically hate Luka to trade him away like that? Because again, Luka, and again, I'm not questioning anyone's reporting, of course. If Luka had an eye on the Lakers, maybe he did, but there was no way he was ever going to come out and say anything or even allude to that, because he knows, like, he was a Mav for life. He was on that Dirk path there.
Yeah, he was the heir apparent. Dirk played a big role. Like Dirk stuck around the one extra year to kind of help guide Luka into his, post Dirk career.
Yeah.
Dirk has been around the Mavericks organization and been a really great mentor to Luka. Luka released a statement earlier today also, saying how he expected to be a Maverick for life. It's just absolutely nuts.
And I don't get the extension concerns either. I mean, like the 345 million, it's all relative to, again, to the way the salary cap is going to go up anyway as a young player. You always take that option and sign into that knowing you can still trade him, because again, when you're 25, literally every single team in the league, if they'd known Luka was available, would have said, well, hey, let's roll the dice and just throw whatever we've got.
Yeah.
And I'm talking,
they would have gotten 29 offers.
The Knicks, the Spurs, the Raptors, the Thunder, everyone would have at least rung up and said, hey, Nico, what about this? What about that? And this is the thing. And again, I understand why he didn't want to make it public, because if you got another team in there, well, the Jazz were technically on it, but if you got another 3 or 4 teams involved, someone's leaking, hey, the Mavs are trying to shop Luka, and he just did not want that. Now, again, I'm surprised that he didn't get at least 2 first-round picks and something else in return, because the 1 first-round pick seems like also just a throw-in. It doesn't really seem, it's not unprotected, in this year's draft or something where you might be able to get Cooper. Instead, it's kind of like, well, we have to sort of throw in at least 1. Instead, on the surface, it's a basically Doncic for Davis trade. And it's like, you're giving up the young prospect, and you instigated this as well. Like, I would love to have been Rob Pelinka when they said, I think it was January 7, the Mavs were in Los Angeles. And that's when apparently the first sort of, hey, you want to talk about something? I mean, you imagine Rob's face, like, what? You want to give us?
Could you imagine, like, he like walks into the office, right? So I'm gonna be Rob Pelinka. So
I'll be Genie.
Yeah. So like he walks into the office, he's just like probably just looks completely dumbfounded, just like, oh my God.
What's up, Rob? What's up? You look like you've seen
I
a
just
ghost.
got off the phone. I had coffee with Nico Harrison, and
Yeah. What's
he
up?
asked me if I'd be ever interested in Luka Doncic.
Have you been smoking or drinking or taking drugs? What's going on here, man?
It was
What are you
great
talking about?
coffee.
What did he put in that coffee, man?
I might have put something in his. I'm just like, it's just
Well,
and
we're
and
not
like
going to
they
do it
just
because who are we going to give up to get Luka Doncic? I mean, we haven't got the assets.
well, yeah, you fast forward to the last few days
Yeah.
because apparently, according to Nico in that press conference, he said that this conversation extended back weeks, which to the point you made earlier, the fact that they were to sit on this for weeks is fascinating. Now, the Lakers front office, and to a certain extent, the Mavericks front office, are two of the most insulated front offices in the league. The Lakers front office is literally just Rob. He is the vice president of basketball operations and the general manager. And they might have like one of the Bus brothers as like assistant to the regional manager. And and so like if the Lakers really want to keep something secret, they can keep it a secret, especially now, by the way, that Woj is no longer in news breaking because of all of the people who were doing the news breaking. Woj had easily the best relationship with Rob Pelinka of anybody. Rob did his podcast every time I was there in Vegas, or every time we were there in Vegas, and there was a Laker game on. It was always Woj holding court with Rob, and those guys were sitting there watching the game together. And so for weeks, apparently, they went back and forth. And I would imagine, like, if I'm Rob Pelinka, I'm like not moving. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I do not want to jinx this. Like, what, I'm running every single reply
Yeah.
back to Nico Harrison through every one of anybody who like has any understanding of the English language and how one can read between the lines. And eventually we got to Thursday is apparently when this really kind of ramped up. And the Mavericks called the Lakers. Nico called Rob and said, okay, really, Luka for AD. What do you think? And so they took a couple days, they thought about it, and then got back to, do you think they pretended to think about it? Like, do you think, there's no way.
I think though, yeah, I think Rob said to Jeannie, like, I think he's going to do it. Yeah, don't move
Like,
type
do
of thing.
you think we're getting pranked?
Yeah.
Like, where's Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah. Because if you're Rob, you've got to be thinking like, I don't want Anthony to know about this if it falls through. I don't want him to know if it was on the table. So you sort of leave it all up to Nico, I would assume, because again, Nico's the one giving up. He's the one who's going to cop it from the franchise. I mean, by the sounds of it, like yourself, you're disappointed to lose AD, but you're like, well, it's not
Luka.
Not the end of the world if we don't. But I really want to know from Nico Harrison and the Mavs front office there, how at 25 they got to the end of their tether with Luka, with his conditioning and his attitude. And I love Luka as much as anyone. I absolutely think he's fantastic because he's a great basketball player. But even I could not stand how much he complains to referees. That's the worst part of his game, like the constant like complaining and whining. And at times, there's no question, at times defensively, he just doesn't care. So he has some things to improve on, but surely you would bring in, the right anyone in the world. If you're the Mavs, you've got access to the best psychologists, the best nutritionists, and everyone to say, hey, someone try to get through to Luka. We need him to get a little bit better in shape. We're going to have a chef. We're going to have a team of chefs around him so that he continually eats as best he can. And then the best trainer he doesn't have to be ripped like, Kawhi or anyone like that, but just,
LeBron.
Trim a little bit of that weight and give yourself a bit better of an attitude. But again, like you don't just throw the towel in on a 25-year-old like that. I mean, I think I picked him to win MVP this season. I don't think he's eligible now. He's missed so many games.
Yeah.
But man, he's finished in the top 5 several years. And I just don't see why you would pull the trigger on that if you're the Mavs. But for the Lakers, I mean, LeBron's probably feeling a little bit awkward because he's like, man, he and AD seem to have a good connection there, but he's also like, ooh, she ain't bad this one either, you know. So
Right. You think Luka's like a hall pass?
yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, I think I have been wondering about that to a certain extent. Like, I am kind of known as like Debbie Downer when it comes to the Lakers. And so I will cop to that, and I will cop to that reputation. But to what extent, Lee, does the fact that the Mavericks want to do this at all, is that like a red flag to you? Would you consider that a red flag if you were the Lakers?
Well, I would if Nico didn't already have a couple of other pretty bad decisions on his record. The biggest one being the Steph Curry. He was
Yeah,
apparently
calling
the
him
Nike
Steven.
executive who made that
Botched it.
Yeah, botched that presentation to Steph Curry. And there was another one that's just slipped my mind right now, but he had two already on his record that was like, that's a very questionable decision.
Well, the Brunson one, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's more like this guy actually seems to make some pretty bizarre decisions, and this seems to track in line with that. Again, if I'm the Lakers, you know, when AD's when the teams exchange medical records, they're going to have paper like as thick as anything. There's just going to be so many things they have to sort through. Luka hasn't had any, you know, ACLs or anything like that, but he's had a lot of those soft tissue injuries that again, I think are down to conditioning. And remember, Luka was playing Euro Cup basketball. He was playing in the Olympics when Slovenia made it, and he was carrying those teams, playing, you know, heavy minutes. So there's no question that I think the conditioning is leading to some of these injuries. But now you're in Los Angeles, you're on the Lakers, you've got LeBron there. Surely that's going to be something. And he seems to me like a real competitor, like where it's like, when I step on the court, nothing else matters. And we've seen that, you know, he can really rise to the occasion. So if he can get himself in the shape that he needs to be in, then this is just an unbelievable steal by the Lakers. So will that happen this season? I'm not sure there's enough time. I mean, he hasn't played for such a long time. He's got to get himself in shape. He's got to get himself, you know, on the floor and learning how to play with LeBron. They both like the ball in their hands. So there's going to be an adjustment period. Usually, historically, that doesn't happen in half a season. Usually that's a process of a minimum one season and an off season. But this is, you know, the good thing for the Lakers as well. Whether or not LeBron was definitely planning on coming back next season and the year after, I think he probably was. Well, now you would think he's like, okay, well, I'm definitely coming back now because I know I've got a winner on my team, and he's going to have, you know, great success. So I think there are some, you know, minor red flags there, but again, that the age of Luka just kind of dissolves all of those as major concerns.
Yeah, there was some speculation going into last night, you know, and then it was Chris Haynes, you know, pretty much put a stop to it. But there was a lot of people wondering around the league whether or not LeBron would he would okay a trade to Golden State. Now that it appears that turf war between the you know, Jeannie Buss, Rob Pelinka, and Kirtland Aramis faction and Clutch, like they have been, there has been, I wouldn't call it outright animosity, but there has been certainly a bit of a struggle for power and a struggle for cachet there in the organization. And you know, it's over now. Like it, you know, Rob Pelinka is the guy. You know, he brought in LeBron's heir apparent. He's swapped out heir apparents, right? Because AD was going to be the one after LeBron. Sam Amick reported that apparently there were enough people in the organization who were concerned about Anthony Davis as like the you know 1A. You know, and to that point, LeBron has been saying for years now how he wants it to be AD's team. He wants it to be AD's team. He wants to take a step back. He wants to do this. But I don't think he's felt comfortable doing that because AD hasn't always been ready to step into that limelight. In this case, LeBron doesn't have a choice. Luka is the guy, and we're going to see how LeBron handles that. LeBron is such a you know, high-speed processor that I think he'll be able to figure out whatever he has to figure out to play with
Yeah.
Luka. But it's still going to be really fascinating. And I from also from the like Lakers fan base aspect of this, you have Luka, who even before all of this went down, his Twitter like avatar and background were both shout outs to Kobe, and he had that great relationship with Kobe. And like you said earlier, Lee, his conditioning is a problem. And that was something that Kobe, I think if he were still around, he would probably be in Luka's ears saying like, hey, man, you got to get in shape. But the one thing that I'm sure Kobe respected the hell out of with Luka is that dude is a killer when he gets out onto the court. It does not matter what kind of shape he's in. It doesn't matter what kind of maladies he's kind of dealing with. If he's out there and he is healthy enough to play, he is going for your throat. And that is exactly like, I don't know if AD is always that night in, night out. And I think that probably made the Lakers a little nervous. And they went out and got, frankly, the better player who was also 6 years younger. And even as we talk about all the conditioning stuff, Lee, he was out of shape. He was round. He was portly last year. He got to the finals.
Yeah.
He carried that team to the finals.
Yeah. And that's the thing with Nikola Jokic, he's not in great shape and his conditioning always looks like it's lower on his list of priorities.
Yeah.
But when he steps on the court, as we're seeing, I mean, Jokic is having, maybe his best season individually right now. And it's an interesting, sort of comparison, because if you look at what's happened with Westbrook there, they're having a great season, Jokic and Westbrook. And so, this is a different situation in the sense that, Luka and LeBron are not coming to the stage where it's like, Luka's bouncing around teams and he can't find the right chemistry. But the point is that, like, they can figure out a way to make it work, even though the difference you get here from Doncic to Anthony Davis is a completely different position, and it's closer to LeBron's than what Anthony Davis was. That's one question now for the Lakers as well. They seem pretty thin in the middle, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's another deal that happens this week, maybe a Valanciunas, maybe a Yucca Pirtle or someone like that, because they're going to need someone there in the middle. But it's oh man, it's one of those deals that you just sort of, again, you read over it again and again and again, and you're like, what is this? How did this happen? And
I
mentioning
thought he was
Kobe,
hacked. I thought for sure Shams was hacked.
Yeah.
I thought, I saw it was like, that's it. Had they said the Lakers agreed to a trade for Luka Doncic and it's going to cost Anthony Davis and Dalton Connect and Austin Reeves and every draft pick from now till Kingdom Come, I'd be like, oh, okay. Yeah. That's crazy. I can't believe they did that, but all right, fine. Now it's like they get away with it with, again, trading Anthony Davis does sting. I am partial to Anthony Davis because he's my daughter's favorite player. But on top of it, he's the entire backbone of their defense. He is their entire defense. Like, the only reason the Lakers aren't an absolute bottom tier defense is because Anthony Davis is out there night in, night out, cleaning up for, at one point it was Russell Westbrook's squirrely techniques and approach. Then it was D'Angelo Russell. Then it was Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. And it was just like, and Anthony Davis is holding that together, with some scotch tape, some duct tape and some old used string. And now I'm really curious what the defense is going to look like here moving forward. But they also might just be so overwhelming offensively if Luka and LeBron figure it out. If they start running pick and roll and you get LeBron going downhill against a compromised defense, and if the Lakers have enough spacing on the floor, I don't know how you really stop the Lakers. So
I mean, the fact that they keep Reeves and Connect is also staggering.
Insane
out of this. And now I also wonder, because there's still reports, of course, maybe they get their hands on Jimmy. I don't know how that would work. Bogdan Bogdanovic has been rumored to be also someone they're interested in. It feels like there's another couple of moves that are going to be made anyway. They kind of have to be. But so they've still got some decent assets there that they can trade in Reeves and Connect if they need to upgrade at those positions, because, decent players, but also the sort of players that they're going to have to give up if they want to get someone else. But Yeah, Anthony Davis, like he wanted to go to Los Angeles. He got there, kind of forced his way out of New Orleans, won the championship, and then sort of found himself very quickly on the scrap heap. And that's got to be tough as well to hear it the way that it happened like that, where he didn't make a request. There was no tension that I'm aware of. I know there was a couple of tweets going around today but LeBron shot those down, saying LeBron was getting frustrated with him. I think in seasons prior, with Anthony Davis having a lot of injuries, I think that may have caused some frustration for LeBron, but not to the point where he was saying, "Hey, ship this guy out of here." And ultimately, it's like, as we've seen for a lot of this season, the best version of Anthony Davis is great. I don't think there was any tension there. I don't think this was driven by LeBron at all. In fact, I was LeBron informed. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he was or not. I honestly think Rob, because LeBron would have told Rich Paul, and then it would have gotten out, and then who knows. So I truly believe that Rob had to sort of just keep this one between him and Jeannie, and not even the Rambi. I don't think we're alerted to this.
We have yet to hear anything from Anthony Davis. He has not tweeted. He has not posted. I haven't seen anything online about any kind of a reaction from Anthony Davis.
No, I saw him in Dallas, but he didn't speak. So
yeah. So I am really kind of curious what his reaction, what his leaks are going to be on this front here, because the reports immediately afterward was that LeBron only found out about this when he was out to dinner with his family in New York, which there's no reason to believe that is bad reporting or bad information. There are people that I've spoken to who are like, that doesn't quite make sense. If this has been going on for a few days now, especially if a third team is involved, keeping that under wraps to the extent that like everybody at Clutch, and specifically LeBron, who is still one of the most powerful people in the league, would somehow not know about it. There was a little, we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't have it. I don't have it good enough to say that he definitively.
We've just sorry to jump in there, but we're seeing De'Aaron Fox has been traded. Fox and LaVine. So let's see if we can get some ideas here about what that is all about.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Sacramento's finalizing a trade to send De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs in a multi-team trade that includes Chicago, Zach LaVine going to the Kings. That's from Sham. So, wow. So, who is moving on from Fox is going to the Spurs. So, who are the Spurs giving up to make that happen? That's what we need to know. Wow. This is great stuff. We're going live right now. Instant reaction. We better get that one out there.
All right. I know we said heading into the weekend that this was one of those logs that would get the dam moving, right? Especially if this one involves three teams. So I would imagine the Jimmy Butler trade is probably not too far behind this one.
Yeah.
And then from there, you get to start seeing the other dominoes that, the smaller moves that teams are kind of holding off on because they are waiting to see who needs to be involved with what to help facilitate whatever trade. All right. So first and foremost, I think Sacramento is doing pretty well getting LaVine here. Well, all right. First and foremost, De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs is terrifying.
Yeah.
Because that is a duo that is going to be good for a long while. Fox is an incredible athlete. He's going to pierce the defense. And now you have Wemby dealing with compromised defenses. That's insane. I'm also curious to see who San Antonio had to move in this to see if like Stephon Castle is involved.
That's the one that I want to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Castle, I think they wanted to keep him. And given that he's on a rookie contract, there's not that much money there involved either. So that could almost save him. But I want to also see if Bogdanovic is going to be involved in that one, because I think he was being kind of linked to that too.
Mark Stein says that Kevin Huerter is going to Chicago,
right?
Which you have to do to bring in LaVine.
Yeah,
man, I really like this deal for Sacramento.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Huerter, they had him here in Atlanta, and he was good, and he started off okay in Sacramento, but he's been kind of on the outs there too for a bit. So not a huge shock to see him moved in that deal. But LaVine's been dying to get out of Chicago for so long, and the Kings. I mean, wow, what a season it's really been there for Sacramento. Going in with such hope and such possibilities, and they lose Mike Brown, they fire Mike Brown, and now Fox is gone as well. So, you wonder if this is just a sort of. I wonder if this means Sabonis is going to be moved as well, because another guy, of course, who the Lakers would love to have, and if you're getting LaVine, is that a long-term move, or is that more just a sort of short-term? Got to sort of hit the reset button, because it wouldn't sort of immediately say to me that the Kings are going to move ahead with LaVine as their number one player. So they may continue to make moves here and move on from Sabonis.
I actually think they should probably move on from DeRozan before Sabonis.
Right.
I'd like to see the LaVine and Sabonis combination before I give up on it, especially if you're moving Sabonis at a time where people expect you to go fire sale.
Right.
But LaVine has been excellent this year
when he's played. Yeah,
legitimately one of the more effective and efficient players on offense in the league, and I think he's better offensively than Fox is. So you basically
different position.
Yeah. Now it does get kind of tricky, because I don't know how well he and Monk are going to fit. I think basically the Kings are going to have to make a decision here and move either Monk or DeRozan to get some more size and athleticism on the physical or on the perimeter, because they aren't very good defensively on the perimeter, and that has continued to hurt them. And when your interior is Domantas Sabonis and he's not the best rim protector, that's how you get to where Sacramento is, where they're an incredible offense, but they also can't really stop anybody when they're playing good offenses. So what do you think about
I'm just looking at
LaVine's? Does this mean Vooch is gone now? Vooch has
I think so. I think certainly. It's just where does he go? I mean, there's actually talk about the Hawks with him too, and Clint Capella, sort of just a straight big man swap. Gives them a slightly better offensive talent there. Just looking quickly, though, at LaVine's contract, because he's got one more guaranteed year left at $46 million, and then he's got a player option for $48 million in 26-27. But he is going to be 31 at that point. So, maybe they are deciding to try it out with he and Sabonis, because Sabonis is closer to that age. And this was there must be a few picks though going there as well, I would think, if the Kings are giving up Fox. I would think that there has to be something going back that way too. Don't seem to have any more details on it right now. But look, overall, I mean, this is great for De'Aaron Fox, and it's fantastic for the San Antonio Spurs to get exactly what everyone in that scenario was hoping for. A younger player, who needed to be moved and has got time there to grow with Wembanyama, and whether or not Chris Paul will stay. I think because there was talk about Chris Paul maybe being traded to make way here, but I think the Spurs want to keep Paul for at least the remainder of this season. He's been incredible for them, and they can also use him to mentor Fox a little bit more, because Fox has never really had a veteran like that around him to sort of guide him and show him the ropes.
Brian Windhorst apparently just said on ESPN that Stephon Castle is not in the trade,
right?
Which
that's even better for the Spurs.
What?
Yeah.
There was some talk. I was talking to an agent today, and there was some talk that even before today, Fox's family was looking at real estate in San Antonio.
Yeah.
So we knew this was coming. It was heading down. It was just a matter of whether Sacramento would let go of Fox and not get Castle back. I mean, you would like to get Castle back. I really like them getting LaVine. I'm like weirdly high on the fact that they got LaVine. I think he's really underrated because the contract is really bad. But I think they'll be fine if they can find a different place for DeRozan immediately. Then I think I think they have a decent chance of scratching back into the play-in with all of the nonsense that they've been dealing with all year.
Well, possibly, yeah. I mean, it's like I was saying before, it's been a really bad season considering the expectations coming in here. They're 24-24 right now, basically tied with the Warriors for the last play-in spot. So they've got an advantage over the Warriors. I guess it's on their matchups against them that's got them in there, and then of course the Mavericks are above that. But yeah, I think Zach LaVine's one of those players that he's been decent this season. I mean, a couple of people thought he was an all-star snub last week. I didn't quite have him that high.
Yeah.
But he seems to me the sort of guy who, if he's motivated and he's in the right spot and, feels the love of the game again, he could be really, really good. This could be a good pickup. So you've at least got one guaranteed extra season here of him, and then he has that player option. So if things do work out, maybe there is a bit more of a long-term future there. DeRozan's an interesting one because they only just signed him this off-season. He is eligible to be traded now because we're past that date.
December.
But then again, they played together in Chicago, so maybe LaVine and DeRozan are not a bad combination right now with Monk. I'm almost talking myself out now of them trying to trade Sabonis because I'm thinking actually this is probably not a terrible fit here for the Kings, and they desperately want to make at worst the play-in this season. They can't go another season without making the play-in and being in with a chance. Something's happened in your face. I don't know what it is, but
this trade doesn't make any sense. Chris Haynes, sources Spurs are sending Trey Jones and Zach Collins to Chicago. Kings are sending Kevin Huerter to Chicago. Jordan McLaughlin, yeah. Is going to San Antonio with Fox. There's no way they just got De'Aaron Fox for 3 picks, Trey Jones and Zach Collins. That would be insane.
Hey man, nothing can now be called insane, by the way, because
that's true. I guess I'm not the one to complain about this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because maybe that's why they did it on a Saturday night, so Adam Silver couldn't veto the trade. Maybe he's out. He's like, I'm taking Saturday night off. Don't anyone do anything. And then all of a sudden, there's that meme of Adam Silver on the phone, like, what the hell? I was just out for dinner. I told you to not do anything. But that also, again, if you're talking 3 picks to the Kings, right? 3 picks.
Yeah.
And the Mavs got 1. Only 1.
Well,
That's
the
crazy.
Mavs got AD, right? Like the Spurs have given up City Sissoko and Zach Collins and Trey Jones.
Yeah.
Right?
But even still, like the Lakers have had 2 picks that they could have included.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's shocking that they didn't get everything that the Lakers didn't have tied down.
Yes, basically. Like a young player get Connect in there as well and get that second first round pick. So you get 2 picks, a young player and the veteran to make it happen. So when you see 3 picks thrown around like this, it's like, man, and you wonder as well going into a day like today, do other teams who are very, very close, because it feels like this deal has been kind of close to happening for the last week or so, do either of those teams sort of sit back and go, hang on a minute, maybe we don't need to give up all these picks to get it done. Maybe we can take one back off the table if Luka Doncic is only worth 1. But
it looks like the Bulls aren't getting a first rounder for... I guess the Bulls are getting their own 2025 pick back from San Antonio.
Right.
So I guess that counts as getting one first, I guess, for Zach LaVine. given that they were expecting a first for Nikola Vucevic as recently as last week,
Yeah.
I would imagine that price is now dropped. And this was the thing, like around the league. Remember how when Rudy Gobert got traded and it was for like 73 picks and pick swaps and all that nonsense, and everybody around the league like looked at the Timberwolves and was like, "What the hell? How are we ever gonna, like, how you just screwed up the entire economy?"
Well, just looking at
go ahead.
Sorry, just looking at this right now from Shams, the first round pick they get is a 2025 this year from Charlotte. Now, that doesn't say if there's any protections on that. You would think that probably is protected 1 through 3 or 4 at least, because otherwise the Kings could get, I mean, if they could somehow, with the way things are going there for the Hornets, they're not the worst team, but they're not far away. That could be a top 5 pick. Then 2027 San Antonio, that probably won't be all that flash because Wemby by then will be the 2-time MVP and a 2-time champ. And then 2031 Minnesota, that's too far away to really know. And then 3 second-round picks. I mean, they don't really mean all that much right now. The Bulls, they get one from the Bulls this year, so that won't be too bad. But that first-round pick from the Hornets, there's got to be protection on that. There has to be.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think
top 4.
We're going to keep on hearing about this for the rest of the night. Looks like
Romeo,
top 14 protected.
Romeo 33 is saying top 14. Now, we haven't verified that. You're taking your word on this, Romeo, but it certainly makes sense that there has to be some sort of protection on it because otherwise there's no way the Kings could potentially get, number 1 pick out of this draft if things keep going down the drain as they are for the Hornets.
Yeah.
Man, this is great fun.
Crazy. Well, I think that's what this week is going to be.
It will be.
That's basically what this entire week is going to look like.
Yeah.
We have about 5,400 people tuned in right now. So for those of you who are new here, please do hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. Tell your friends about the show. Any final thoughts before we move on and preview this week's destination?
Thanks, Romeo. He's come through and said Bobby Marks has got it. So
right.
we trust that source. Great stuff, though, Romeo. You got in and you contributed. We appreciate that, man. Well, this destination on Friday, I mean, I don't think we've been to Ljubljana yet, but it makes sense to talk about my time there and the time I went out and got boozed up with Sasha Doncic. I saw he was on Slovenian TV and he was not very happy. I don't know if you saw that, but he was pretty furious.
Well, this trade cost Luka like $100 million.
Well, I know in that sense that like he can't sign the supermax extension with the Lakers, but it's not like he's going to be poor and he's going to be running out of money because that's also something that he could sign the following season for even more money. So he's going to make his money one way or the other. But Anthony Davis apparently waived his trade kicker because he's going to Texas where there's no state income tax. Mm-hmm. And I think the prospect of signing him long term as well, so he was happily enough to waive his $5.9 million, knowing that he's going to make a whole lot more on the end of that.
Yeah. Well, if he buys a house, property taxes out here are brutal.
Oh, really?
Oh my goodness. And the toll roads out here, Texas. Can we have free is right there in the word freeway. It's right there.
Hey, great job by the community here. People putting the full details of the trade as they're coming through here. Another one here. What's his name here? Aphrodisiac.
Yeah.
Spelling it out, man. That's it. Because the news broke. We're all just following it along, waiting for it all to come through. So, man, the Spurs are going to be pretty happy with that.
Spurs absolutely made out like bandits here. I don't know if it's to the extent that the Lakers did, obviously, because, that the Lakers made what a lot of smart people are calling the worst trade in the history of the sport, or the Mavericks made the worst end of it. The Lakers might have made one of the best ones. But this, I think, is also a really good one. And really importantly, for San Antonio, they get to take advantage of this early stretch where Wemby is on his rookie deal.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to continue to be active after this too. I think they have enough, depending on how they feel about Vassell or whatever, but they could put together a pretty good team around Wemby. Do you think the Spurs could sneak into the play-in picture?
Oh yeah, I think so. I was looking at that just the other day. Now they've got a bit of work to do, but I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility.
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
they're there.
Yeah,
Yeah, because the Kings, ironically,
yeah,
are the 10 seed right now. They're 24 and 24.
yeah.
Now the Spurs are 21 and 25. So
yeah, 2 games back of the.
Well, they've played fewer games, so if they just win the games that make up that gap between them and the Kings, then they're right there at the same record, basically.
Yeah,
it's the losses, right, that matter. You can't make up losses. So
and the Spurs are here on Wednesday night in Atlanta, so that might be that could be Fox's first game. That's possible that his first game. Well, they're playing the Grizzlies tomorrow, so I don't know if he'll play that game or not. But otherwise, his first game will be here in Atlanta on Wednesday night. So I'll be down there for that one and watch out for the Wemby show as well, man.
There's talk also that Luka might might be able to get back. According to his dad, he's already training. He's making his way back. And then there are reports coming out of Dallas that there's hope that Luka might be able to play before the All-Star break too. So we might have a couple big debuts in the works. We have the rest of trade deadline to get to. Leigh, this was fun. We got we got to talk about breaking news like right here live. This was great. Thank you everybody for tuning in on this fine Sunday evening. If you guys want more stuff like this, I'm probably going to be going live in the lounge here in a second if my voice holds up. And then Leigh and I, our plan, we're penciling in a time to be able to break down the deadline at some point while it's leading up. So whether it's on Wednesday, whether it's Thursday night, whatever it is, we would like to react to some big stuff here as it happens as well. So the best way you can make sure you don't miss any of that is to subscribe to the show, the RSS feed of the show, or to also subscribe to the YouTube feed here, which is youtube.com/@basketballpassport. So until the next time you guys hear from us, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Leigh Ellis. This has been Basketball Passport. Safe travels, everybody. And good Lord, Spurs, you didn't give up Castle? Come on.